This video is being brought to you by Cutting Edge Gamer. If you upgrade graphics cards often, Cutting Edge Gamer is the perfect option for you. Lease the newest graphics cards on the market, such as Nvidia's RTX 20 series, for a low monthly payment. Click the affiliate link below in the description to find out more. Look, I'm all about capitalism, and I understand when a game isn't selling well, you gotta cut prices to make people want to buy it. But sometimes I could understand why early adopters get annoyed when games get huge price cuts. Let's get into it. Skip it up and that up. So if you remember a couple months back, I did a story on how Shadow of the Tomb Raider, which released in mid-September, not even a month later on Steam, it was a temporary price cut, but it got the price cut, got almost a 50% price reduction with all of the DLC included. It was like 47% if you did the math, but that's a huge price cut to get the game and all of the future DLC less than a month after it came out. And a lot of people, which in my opinion was understandable, were annoyed that this game they just bought at full price is now getting this drastic price cut. I understand, and I've said this before, that look, if a game's not selling well, the developer has to do what it has to do to stimulate sales. And a lot of people were saying, Rich, you're making no sense. This has to be done. If a game's not selling well, it's how to make the game actually get off the shelves, the digital shelves, so to speak. And you're right. I understand what you're saying, that they have to cut the price of the game to make people actually want to buy it. But I also understand if you were an early adopter. I mean, look, I always get early adopters spend more money, whether it be in hardware or software. But when a game is not even out for a month and it's getting a 50% price cut, I get what you're saying about price cuts and how they're necessary, but I still gotta say I also understand why people are annoyed. It's not like the game, like 3 months down the road, got a price cut, or even 2 months down, not even a full month after Shadow of the Tomb Raider was released, you could get the game with all the DLC basically at half price. And I'm sure people were pissed off. They were pissed off. And I understand why they were pissed off. And I agree with them to a degree. Well, speaking of games that were released in the fourth quarter expecting to make a butt ton of cash and don't seem to be doing the numbers that the companies wanted them to do, Battlefield 5 was released, depending on which service you bought it with. If you had Origin Access on the PC, you could play it on November 9th. If you bought the Deluxe Edition, you could play it on November 15th. But the vanilla version of Battlefield 5, the plain Jane one, was released on November 20th. That alone could be a problem as to why the game didn't sell well. People were like, okay, what date does it actually release on? Origin Access, November 9th, then Deluxe Edition, November 15th, then November 20th. What were you doing, DICE and EA? Why did you think that was a good idea? Well, Battlefield 5, shockingly, is not selling well. Physical copies sold of Battlefield 5 are down more than half of Battlefield 1. Now, you could argue that digital distribution is now more relevant than it was even a couple years ago, but it's not like Battlefield 1 was released in 2014 or 2013. It was released in 2016. So the physical copies sold in that short time period are still a little more relevant. If there's that much of a gap where they're selling less than half the copies of Battlefield 1, that means that the game is in trouble, even though physical sales are slowly dwindling over time and digital sales or digital distribution is increasing over time. But that less than 2 year period in between Battlefield 1 and Battlefield 5 shouldn't mean that Battlefield 5's physical sales should only be half of Battlefield 1. It shouldn't make that much of a difference. Now, many of you can make a very valid argument and say, Rich, you're just speculating about the sales of Battlefield 5. You don't know the digital sales, the digital download sales of Battlefield 5. Maybe it's sold 10 times more than Battlefield 1 through digital distribution. I don't think so, because they're already offering Battlefield 5 at a 50% discount. The game's official release, with no gimmicks behind it, was on November 20th. It's now December 8th as I'm recording this video. That's not even a month, and you can get the game for half off. That can't be a good sign. Now, if you still play Battlefield 1 or even Battlefield 4, when you boot up the game, you see this promotion, and this is what it has to say. Big savings for Battlefield veterans. Get 50% off Battlefield 5 for a limited time. If you've been thinking about joining the ranks in Battlefield 5, the time is now. Loyal series fans like you can save 50% on the Deluxe Edition. Don't miss out. Claim your discount today. Conditions and restrictions apply. See site for details. Now, if you go over to the main Battlefield subreddit, there are a lot of people raging over there at this, which, again, I gotta side with them, man. It's ridiculous. I mean, again, I've seen games get discounted heavily, but usually not this quick. And there's people calling for a class action lawsuit. I don't know if this game being heavily discounted can actually make EA have to go to court, but it has to be frustrating if you bought the game at full price. I mean, technically, like I said, with all the other Origin Access and Deluxe Edition purchases aside, the game just went live on November 20th. And like I said before, it's December 8th today, and you can get the game for half off. That has to be frustrating. It has to be frustrating. You don't think that games that quick will go on that big of a discount. I'm just saying. I mean, you got to keep it real. Now, look, we know about the backlash with Battlefield 5 during the E3 2018 reveal trailer and what EA's chief creative officer, Patrick Soderlund, said about the situation, where he says either you accept it or you don't buy the game. Which, look, man, I remember coming out and saying, look, what is the big deal? They had a female in the trailer, and I got a lot of flack for that. But his response of either accept it or don't buy the game, like, you know, you should feel privileged that we're making this game for you. That was a terrible response. That is not the way an executive at a multi-billion-dollar corporation like EA should talk to the fans of the series. That was wow. I should have made a video on that in and of itself back then, but I didn't. But when you combine what Patrick Soderlund said with the fact that, again, you have all these companies trying to release these huge AAA games at the same time in the fourth quarter to try to make that Christmas money, and with the convoluted sales strategy of Battlefield 5, where they're offering different release dates depending on what service you sign up for, it was absolutely ridiculous. It had terrible marketing. It had a very, very rough reveal. And there are way too many other options out there for people to play right now. And that's why everyone's like, yeah, you don't want us to buy it, Patrick? We're not going to buy your game. You spoke with your wallets, and that's when companies pay attention. And that is the key reason right now that Battlefield 5 is 50% off. Because let's keep it real. If the game was flying off the shelves, do you think they would have a 50% discount on it less than a month after it came out? Come on, son. This is Rich of Review Tech USA signing out. Have a good one. Hey, congratulations! If you made it to the end of the video, you should subscribe to Review Tech USA so you can hear me blabber on some more. Also, too, starting this month, I will be live streaming solely on Twitch. I'll have a link to my Twitch channel below in the description. And last but not least, make sure you click that like button. It helps out the show big time. See you guys in the next video.